America Last left-wing thought is dangerous, is anti-American, and it kills people. The antidote to this insanity is the America First agenda through a constitutional conservative lens. DIE hiring is welfare for the criminally stupid, a premise that is in the running to be the next Salcedo show axiom. That's my focus in today's preamble. As you all know, diversity, inclusion, and equity is a racist agenda. It's illegal in most states because of that fact. DIE pushes the hiring and advancement of human beings not by merit or performance, but rather by things that are beyond our control. Skin color, race, and gender. And things that are in our control, worldview, political persuasion, and how much money you got. The result is the hiring of people who check every box under the sun except the "I'm qualified for my job" box. In corporate America, the DIE cultural Marxist agenda can kill a brand or a company as quality is sacrificed for virtue signaling. Think of Bud Light, Target, and Disney. But in government, DIE can kill. Over a year ago, the Attorney General of Kansas, Chris Salcedo, raised red flags about hiring priorities at the Federal Aviation Administration, infected and run by DIE Democrats.
Well, it really began in October of 2022 when the FAA announced its 5-year plan for hiring, and in it, it said that it would change its hiring practices in order to achieve more diversity, specifically racial diversity, in its workforce. And then that continued with multiple symposia on this, putting into place this new hiring practice, and they continue to talk about their new hiring practices. And all of this has happened during the same period last summer when the United States Supreme Court said that any racial discrimination is unconstitutional when it's done by a government entity. In that case, it was, government subsidized universities.
But it wasn't just a focus on hiring based on skin color, which, as the AG points out, is illegal. The Democrat-infested government apparatchiks at the FAA had committed to hiring people with severe disabilities because they are the most underrepresented segment of the workforce, they claimed, including those with missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, and epilepsy. Not only is this woke virtue signaling with taxpayer dollars stupid and cruel, but with human lives hanging in the balance, it's irresponsible, and I would contend, criminal. The America First Coalition is determined to stop this culture of big government failure and graft. But the leftists in the America Last Coalition are determined to keep this perverted, unqualified, expensive, and unaccountable government in place. Why? Because far too many undeserving people are making far too much money off the misery of Americans. First up, let me give you an example of the corruption and degenerate behavior that Democrats have brought to government in the FBI and Department of Injustice.
Over 100 pregnancy care centers and over 300 churches in this country were attacked, vandalized, firebombed. Do you happen to know off the top of your head how many prosecutions Merrick Garland's Justice Department brought in those cases?
I do not, Senator.
It's a stunning number. It's 2.
That was just the tip of the FBI's corruption iceberg. It's why Kash Patel has been committed to reforming the FBI, something despicable Democrat Amy Klobuchar opposes.
Did you say that the FBI headquarters should be shut down and reopened as a museum of the deep state?
Mr. Chairman, are we allowed to go an extra time?
Let's see, you get a second round. Before I call on Senator Lee.
Could he just answer the question if he said that the FBI headquarters where they investigate cybercrime and terrorism should be shut down and opened as a deep state?
Hey, Mr. Chair.
As a museum?
You got anything you want to say, Mr. Patel, before I go on to Senator Lee?
Simply this. If the best attacks on me are going to be false accusations and grotesque mischaracterizations, the only thing this body is doing is defeating the credibility of the men and women at the FBI.
Klobuchar went 3 minutes over her allotted time, showing great disrespect to her colleagues to lash out at Mr. Patel there. By the way, that's typical of her kind. But because Kash brings a credibility, accountability, and constitutional reform to government that the Democrats have spent decades trying to unravel and destroy, that's why the Democrats will, for the first time in American history, vote against Kash. Next, Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders is outed by RFK Jr. as a big pharma shill.
And by the way, Bernie, the problem of corruption is not just in the federal agencies, it's in Congress too. Almost all the members of this panel are accepting, including yourself, are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry. And protecting their interests.
Oh, I thought that would come. No. I ran for president like you. I got millions and millions of contributions. They did not come from the executives, not one nickel of PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. They came from workers.
In 2020, you were the single largest
because I had
receiver of pharmaceutical money.
Contributions from workers all over this country. Workers,
you were the
not a nickel from corporate
Bernie,
tax.
you were the single largest acceptor of pharmaceutical dollars.
No, from workers in the industry.
1.5 million.
Notice how the socialist had to shout over RFK Jr.? The subject wasn't your donations from workers, Bernie. The subject was donations from workers in the big pharma industry. A whole bunch of workers in the big pharma industry donated to your campaign, according to your own admission. Gee, I wonder where those big pharma workers got all their big money to donate to your socialist campaign. Then there was another left-wing anti-constitutional display from a favorite of leftists in this country. His name is Texas Senator John Cornyn. Watch as he, despite myriad abuses from the FISA court, appeared to be defending government's violation of our people's Fourth Amendment rights.
CIA Director John Ratcliffe said during his testimony before this committee that he believed that a warrant is not only required by law, but is actually impractical. Do you disagree with that or agree with that?
I will be in a better position to make an assessment on the practical implications of this if confirmed as DNI. My commitment remains to uphold the Constitution and Americans' Fourth Amendment rights.
Where would the warrant be sought? Would it be in the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, or would it be in some other Article III court?
My understanding is that it would be in the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court.
Are you aware of the fact the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court has held that a warrant is not required?
I am aware.
Aren't they cute at that age? The court that Bush created declares that warrants aren't needed. Since John Cornyn is up for re-election, I'm certain that victims of the FISA abuses in Texas and all over the country might have a few questions for the good senator. Excuse me, Senator Cornyn, are you aware of the myriad abuses of the FISA court? Senator, are you aware that those abuses were part of an illegal government operation known as Crossfire Hurricane that was launched by corrupt members of the FBI and the Obama White House to unfairly and unconstitutionally target President Trump in his first administration? Are you aware, Senator, that a federal district judge, LaShawn Dearsey Hall, has ruled the 702 provision of the FISA law unconstitutional as it violates Americans' Fourth Amendment rights? Are you aware that government under people like you, Senator, has deservedly lost the trust of the American people because of your advocacy for the illegal suspension of our constitutional rights? The Fourth Amendment is clear, Senator, in light of unchecked corruption undertaken by Democrats, because you, Senator Cornyn, and your lazy legislator ilk couldn't be bothered to perform your constitutional duty of oversight and checking illegal abuse of the executive, given that a federal judge has struck down a major component of this law that has been weaponized against Americans. I'm afraid we, the people, disagree with your push for this government power that has proven to be dangerous. And we must insist that if government has probable cause, government should get a damn warrant. Left-wing thought leads to the suspension of your constitutional rights. The Democrats' DEI agenda in government is welfare for the criminally stupid. America is too great a nation to operate under such unqualified and un-American principles such as these. Trump's nominees can begin to unwind this plague of incompetence. If you care about this country's future, folks, perhaps you should let your elected leaders know how you feel about the subject. You know, folks, I thank God for my wonderful wife, my kids, my country, the greatest nation ever. And Americans like you who believe in the truth, the Chris Salcedo Show will never stop fighting for you.
The Chris Salcedo Show, for the news you need to know.